Sorry for being so tight. Hey. Other direction. I should drink. Oh. Hey, how's it going? Good to see you. Just trying to keep my hands healthy. Per usual, I'm back on a streaming kick, so hopefully I'll be around more. Yeah, let me swoop in for a sec. How's it going? Need to check my audio. I'm doing all right. I am enjoying my new shop space quite a bit. I really need to get in contact with my internet provider so I can see if I can get the space rigged up with high-speed internet, because I would love to stream from there. Show you more of the work that I do. Yeah. In shop. Like I said, today it's just hand health. I have been pretty mean to my hands recently, so I haven't been taking care of them. Yeah, right? I'd love to do it, but like the space that I now have, it's gorgeous. It's amazing, but excuse me. It's in a place with no signal whatsoever, so I can't stream with my phone. So I need to I need to see who's going to give me the best deal on some internet. Should change the angle a bit. That's a little better. You can see the light behind me, but that's no big deal. Yeah, I'm also trying to set up. So after this, after I'm done working my hands, I'm actually going to be playing a point and click adventure game that I love, Day of the Tentacle. But what was I thinking? Oh yeah, yeah. So I want to set up the new studio space not just as like my own like workshop and leather shop, but also as a recording and photo studio, so I can use it to produce videos that aren't, in my living room. Also, I can make a lot more noise there. All right. When I'm working my hands, one of the most important things for me to remember is not to press too hard. If it hurts at all, if you feel any strain, you're stretching too hard. All of these ligaments, tendons, muscles, they're all much more sensitive than we think they are. What I'm doing here is I have my hand in this position, and I'm stretching all of these fingers kind of in an arc, like this direction, down. If you just try to stretch them all at the same plane, the same surface, you're going to actually stretch some of them more than others. So you can see some of those fingers are a lot closer to my wrist than the others. I'm trying to make sure that the tension is balanced on them. And extending the arm intensifies the stretch. This, I can feel all down the back of my arm. Yes. So the first thing, the most important thing for improving wrist strength is starting with stability. If you first start trying to like work with weights, you can actually hurt the muscles and make them harder to work. So the first thing that I usually do, I tell people to work on with hand strength. Two things. Number one, I tell them to start working the directions, the opposite direction of your grip. So if you think about it, the human hand, what we do with it all the time is grip. We grip down, we grip down. So what we need to be doing, because you can see on my arm here, when I grip, these are the muscles right here that are controlling my grip. Down on this side, the bottom of my arm. Now, but there's still other muscles on the other side of my arm that are the muscles that help open your hand. And those are just as important to your grip strength. So a lot of the time, what I find, and what I found in myself and what I find in other people, is that if you start to work the muscles on the backs of your hands, you'll actually find greater stability in your wrists, and thus it's a better foundation on which to build strength. So, the simple ways that I do this, excuse me. Firstly, I warm up with what I was doing earlier, which is towel twists. Very lightly, I get a small towel that when it's folded up and twisted, it's going to fill my grip well. Here, I'm going to stand for this. And just to warm up the hands before I start any kind of work, whether it's typing or it's woodworking or leather, I'll usually do this for a few minutes, or at least like 2 or 3 times. So you twist it until it's tight, and then twist it a little farther and just hold. And if you hold that for just, I don't know, 10, 20 seconds, and you don't need to be cranking down super hard. You just want to warm up the muscles before you start working them. Just hold that. Then let go and twist in the other direction so that you're working the muscles on the other hand. And what you'll notice once you start doing this is that you have one hand to maintain this twist and this tension. You have one hand that's pulling down all the time, and you're starting to warm up the muscles on the bottom. You're starting to warm up the muscles on the bottom of the wrist. But then your other hand, what you're doing with that to maintain the twist is actually pulling upward, which is exercising and starting to warm up the muscles on the top and back of the hands. Now, again, you want to be really gentle, and you only want to do this for a little bit because if you haven't ever worked these muscles before, they get sore very quickly. That's how I warm them up, and that's how I start to like exercise them. The other way, my favorite way, is if I'm wearing jeans or I have like a fabric couch, I take my fingers in a balled up fist and I drag outward. And I'm just using the resistance of the drag to exercise these muscles back here, which you can see. Okay, yeah, so that's part of it. First of all, archery, cool as hell. But secondly, I realized, so I started working out my hands more specifically while I was trying to recover from some injuries that I gave myself. I overworked my hands to death. So, as I was trying to figure out where I was getting like nerve pain and tension, I realized that it wasn't actually starting down here. It was starting in my shoulders. It's all connected in a very complex way, but I realized that the best way to relieve hand pain was to start in the neck, move to the shoulders, and then work on the hands. But I kind of did it in the opposite direction. I started on the hands, and then I started studying elbows, and then I started studying shoulders. But yeah, warming up the hands can help to prevent a lot of damage over the years. And stretching is also very important. That's hard to show right here, but one of my favorite ways to stretch is to put your hand on like a table and let it go limp so that you can tell where it wants to sit. Don't point it forward, don't point it back at yourself. It's actually going to sit at kind of a 45-degree angle from like this flat plane. And then I just rest my hand on top of the back of my hand. I sit there for like 10 seconds. And when I'm done with that, I'll move down to the fingers, press those in just lightly. And then do the same thing in the opposite direction, which is harder, but once you have it down on a table, you can see that if you just rest your hand here, instead of trying to like really crank and stretch out all of your fingers and really like force it, you really just want to use a little bit of gravity. Yeah. Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, I've spent a lot of time working on rotator cuff exercises to try to avoid messing up my shoulders. I actually just had a friend who was doing some pull-ups, and he felt a pop that he didn't really recover from. So you gotta maintain your joints. Now, my favorite finger stretch when it comes to like individual fingers is I like to point my fingers to the ceiling, choose one, and I'm just going to start here. I put my thumb on the back of the first knuckle, and then just use, usually I'll only use one finger, but I'll use my fingers to stretch one joint at a time. And I do like only I do the lightest pressure I can and still feel it. And B, I only do a few seconds on each one because, like I said, in here is actually surprisingly, like they're very stiff tendons on the interior of the hand. And there's a lot packed in there. And you really don't want to overstress, specifically the median nerve, which runs through, well, the median, but through the carpal tunnel. But yeah, So just light, slow pressure between each of the joints, just using my thumb as a flexion point, as like a leverage point, and just stretch out the fingers. Oh, man, I have not been doing this nearly enough recently. Oh, man. I can feel all of the time I should have been stretching. I've been using my hands a lot this last week. Spending a lot of time on the lathe, turning some really beautiful cane handles. But that's a lot of time spent fighting leverage and doing detail work with my hands when I'm sanding. That's what messes up my shoulders, my elbows. And I'm also going to show some more advanced stretches, but those are I wouldn't mess with them, honestly, unless that's what I'm looking for, unless like a professional, a doctor who's worked with you tells you you can use them, because they're pretty extreme. So, all right. Oh man. Yeah, it really does. Oh, I don't know if you could hear that crunching. This is another way, by the way, to do that like reverse exercise I was talking about, dragging your fingers on the inside of your hand. It just gives you a little bit of friction, a little bit of resistance. Also, one of the most important things is to realize that the thumb really doesn't act like a finger. It kind of acts like a little shoulder. If you look at it, this is like a pectoral, like grabbing across. The plane of the fingers is actually different than the plane of the thumb, so you can't stretch them in the same directions. Otherwise, you'll end up actually hurting the thumb, which seems like the strongest of the digits, but truth be told, it's actually one of the least stable. It's one of the least strong, one of the weakest when it comes to grip. It's mostly there for dexterity and stability. So to compare it to the arm again, if you think about pretty much all of the muscles that make the arm work, as flexible and as dexterous as it is, there's that much mobility and that much dexterity in the thumb. So there's that much complexity in all of these muscles, where the fingers have, here, the fingers have the entire forearm to open and close. You can see all that motion, and it actually goes down even into the tricep a little bit. All of this muscle is devoted to moving the fingers. The thumb, all of the muscles of the thumb, like that mobilize the thumb, almost all of them are here and a little bit down the back of your arm. Someone's inviting me to go live with them on TikTok, and I'm not sure I trust that. But yeah, so since there is so much that is packed into such a tiny little space, it's really easy to damage the thumbs. And that's one of the first things to go when it comes to like electricians and woodworkers, leather workers like me, because we end up using our thumbs to grip more than we should, where the strongest grip you have is actually your fingers in line with your forearm, because then you get to activate all of these muscles and keep those straight lines. Straight lines mean that you're not going to have damage from bends and stress. So like when you're pulling a bow, you don't pull a bow with your thumb. You know, that's not necessarily a good idea. but you're actually, well, I mean, depends on how you pull, I guess. But the best way that I've known is to pull with your fingers straight in line with the rest of your arm so that all of this can be activated instead of just it relying on up here. So, all of that is a lot of the reason that I first started working on my hands. Otherwise, I was going to lose them. I ended up giving myself pretty bad nerve damage, which I was happily able to recover from, but my nerves are still pretty sensitive. Yeah, I know, which has always blown my mind. Like, there's something about that thumb grip that just. I've spent so much time trying to figure out, like, the direction of that because I first started working, or I first started thinking about how to pull with my thumb and fingers as a result of my rope training. And for me, it was always trying to run as straight a line as you can from here down, gripping like this and using the friction of the hand to stop it. Yeah, right? I don't know. It never really made sense to me. Okay. So then after, so like those are the basic things. I'm going to show you some more advanced stretching and a couple of the actual like exercises that I do for strength. So here we go, I guess. So when it comes to more advanced stretches, whoops. What I do is bring my arm up, put it right here in the interior of my other elbow, and then use this hand, this one here, to stretch. I reach up and grab across the thumb and the forefinger and extend. It is an incredibly intense stretch. And like I said, you don't want to be putting any force into this. It's just gravity, because you can actually really hurt your shoulder doing this. Oh. Shake that out a little bit. All right. Have a nice one. It's been a pleasure. I hope to see you again soon. Okay. That's better. Yeah, do the other side. Oh, not quite. You have a nice day too, Senian. Shake that out. Now the opposite direction. Oh, hold on. There it is. now I'm going to do a little bit of a cool down with some more towel twists. I want to listen to some more music. This is boring if I'm just doing it, you know, like this. Yeah, same tracks. Okay. Well, with that, I'm going to take a little bit of an intermission. I'm going to drink some water. I'm going to work out my fingers just a little bit by doing some mobility exercises. And then I'm going to play a point and click game, which I haven't played in a long time. Oh, that feels so good. Oh, it feels so much better. Now remember, don't overwork your hands. If you're just starting to work and train grip strength, use open hands. Don't use any weights. Just do this, this, this. 10 times. Do that, each of those 10 times in a set, every day, every morning. Stretch. Drink more water, which I need to do. All right, intermission time.
What's one thing? I am the world's.
That's a good coffee question.